Okay. And you can just look at me during the interview like we're having a conversation. Can I first have your first and last name, how to properly spell it, and your position, please?
Bobby Bland, Bobby Bland, Ector County District Attorney.
Perfect. So can you just kind of start off by telling me the magnitude, the scope of this investigation, how it has been?
Well, this has been a truly amazing case. What started with our case here locally expanded quickly into, dozens of cases all across the country. Let me start that over. What started here locally with a cold case that happened 25 years ago quickly expanded to cases all across the country. Our case was used as a catalyst to get Samuel Little to talk about these other cases. And as a result, dozens of cases have been solved. Victims all across the country are getting answers, and we're glad that that's happening. Justice may have been delayed for a long time in these cases, but at least it's not being denied in the form of answers. We're not going to get convictions on most of these cases. In fact, it's going to be hard for anybody to get a conviction because of his age and everything else, but at least we were able to get a conviction here, and hopefully that'll serve as a conviction for all these other cases across the country.
Okay. And so far there has been 4 convictions, right, by law, and then he's confessed to nearly 90.
He's confessed to over 90 cases. He was convicted of 3 cases in California, and then he confessed to our case. We brought him here to stand justice, but mostly so that he would continue to cooperate. Our case was used to show that the Texas Ranger could get things done, and he was brought here so he would continue to cooperate, and he did so. We've had amazing success. Ranger Holland of the Texas Rangers did a great job of making sure that he worked with Samuel Little so that he would continue to cooperate. He worked with law enforcement agencies around the country. We received tips from all over the country after this became public, and we've been able to close a number of cases across the country. We're talking over 40 cases across the country now that have been matched up, and hopefully more will be coming. He's been drawing these pictures for a long time, and it's been amazing how these pictures and his memory has been able to solve all these cases across the country. Unlike a lot of cold cases, we aren't able to use DNA. In most cases, you don't have DNA because that wasn't part of his MO. But as a result of his confessions, we've been able to match up murders across the country. It's been gratifying to be part of that.
So he has been very cooperative lately, and
well, he's not here anymore.
well,
That's the thing that one of the things the media said, that he's still here. He's back in California. We extradited him here so that he could continue to cooperate with the Texas Rangers, and he did so. And after we pled him, he went back to California to serve out his sentence there.
okay. So when he makes these confessions, how important is it that you don't just jump to conclusions and assume that that is so? I mean, yes, he has been a prolific serial killer, yes, and it is easy to believe him, but how important is it that you don't jump to conclusions and you do your own investigations?
Well, each time he gave specific information on each case, and instead of letting the law enforcement agencies just bring cases to us and putting those in front of him, he wasn't giving information on individual cases around the country. He's the one who gave the information to us. Then we contacted the law enforcement agencies around the country and asked if they had a case matching this, and then they compared their files to what he was telling them. They would come down and interview him, and if what he was telling them matched up what they had in their files, then they were able to close out that case and confirm that he was the murderer. But unlike other cases where there's been false confessions, he's the one that provided the information, and then we reached out to the law enforcement agencies to find out if they had a case that matched up with that. And it's been uncanny how many of these cases have been matching up. He'll describe killing in a certain way in a certain area, and cases that nobody's even looked at for years, all of a sudden we're able to pull those cases up and find out that there is a victim that matches that description and that manner of killing, and details that he's given that match up with the crime itself and the information gathered at the time, like in our case. In our case, he's talking about a case that happened 25 years before. Nobody was, looking at it anymore. I mean, it's a cold case. We didn't have any DNA or anything else to solve the case. If he hadn't confessed to it, we wouldn't have known who did it. But his confession was so detailed, and the information he gave was detailed enough to say, this is our killer. The things he knew about where the body was placed and how she was killed, and even descriptions about him at the time, all confirmed that he was our killer. And obviously he pled guilty to that case. So he's provided the information that we've just gone around to verify that this has happened. And with the help of law enforcement agencies across the country, we've been able to close out so many cases, it's unreal. By the time we're done, he will be confirmed the most prolific serial killer in American history, I believe.
And you mentioned earlier you don't think he will be convicted of any more due to his age and things like that, but
yeah,
do you think the matching will continue until all 90 of his confessions are matched?
Right now, that's what we're trying to do. I mean, we're trying to match up all these things. And I do want to clarify, yes, I don't expect him to be convicted in all these cases. In fact, if we didn't need him down here so that he could continue to work with the Rangers, we would have probably accepted the information and said that would serve as justice for our family. But in this case, we were able to bring him down here and get justice for the family here. But because of that, we were able to get answers for other people. But yes, that's part of our what law enforcement is now trying to do with the FBI, the Rangers, and law enforcement agencies around the country is taking that information he's given, matching that up, and trying to solve all 90 cases. Every victim out there, he's given us all these people out there, and we're trying to put names to them now. Victims' families out there deserve the answers, and if he's the killer of that person, they need to know that. They need to know what happened to their loved one, and that's why we brought him down here, so we could get that information. We had him for months down here in Texas so that he would continue to cooperate, and he did so. And that information has been invaluable in solving these cases. If the ranger hadn't gone out there and talked to him and used our case as a catalyst, all these victims may not have had the answers they have now, and we're hoping to get more answers.
And just kind of out of curiosity, do you think there is a misconception in all of this investigation that has been going on for years? Things that you would like to kind of set the record straight? Is there any misconceptions that people have about this case?
I've been misquoted, if that's what you want to get at, but that's, I mean, that's to say, they said, I said if he's convicted of most of these things. The reality is, if he's not going to be convicted of probably any more murders unless somebody really wants to extradite him and do something with the case, the justice comes in the form of answers in these cases, justice for all these people out there. That's why when we brought him here and when we got a conviction on our local case, we were hoping that this would serve as justice for all those victims out there that he's now confessed to. We hope that in this case, he killed Denise Brothers 25 years ago. It took a long time to get justice for her. We hope that justice for her serves as justice for all these other victims out there. We prosecuted this case not only in her memory and for justice for her, but for all these victims around the country. And we hope to get answers for all of these people. We have not found a single false confession. Nothing he has said has turned out to be false or unproven. I mean, I can't say unproven. Obviously, we haven't proven everything. Nothing that Samuel Little has told us has turned out to be false. There's not been a single false confession in there. Every time he's given us a name, we've been able to reach out, and in most of these cases, we've been able to confirm that there is a victim that matches the murder he described. So the fact that he's been cooperating, the fact that this information is now out there, hopefully we'll get justice for all of these women, or all of these people. It's not all just women, but all of these victims. So the goal is to reach out to anybody out there that has someone who he's described as a victim in their area. Hopefully they will get in touch with the FBI. Hopefully they will be able to match up that victim to this crime, or at least get some answers for those families.
Do you think all of these sketches that he's doing will be put out into the public to see if people recognize these people, or is it kind of...
He's been doing sketches since this began. He's done this for law enforcement, sketched all these victims. It's been uncanny how close, how much he remembers about each victim, and the drawings have been used to compare. I mean, the fact that he killed this many people over such a long period of time, we're talking about over 90 victims in a 40-plus year or 35-year, we're talking about over 90 victims in a time period of over 30 years. During that time, he's able to recall each of those victims and how he did it. He usually remembers the car he was driving, the place he did it, how he did it, and what they looked like. The only thing that's been off sometimes is the actual years, but that's understandable with as many murders as we're talking about. I mean, you're talking about what we believe to be the most prolific serial killer in American history, at least as far as confirmed murders. As a result of that, he's not going to remember every detail, but the details that he has remembered has been amazing and extremely helpful in solving these cases.
Okay. Any other important information you think I should know about right now?
We're just hoping that all 90 of these victims get justice in the form of answers, that these families get answers. We hope that the conviction of Denise Brothers gives them some solace in knowing that he's been convicted here, and hopefully her confession, and hopefully this conviction here in Odessa will serve as a conviction for all those who for who he won't see the inside of a courtroom. We hope, even though he may not see the inside of a courtroom in all these other jurisdictions, hopefully the fact that he saw justice inside the courtroom here in Ector County for the murder of Denise Brothers will serve as justice for them as well. And we hope that if there is anybody, if there is law enforcement out there that has a case that matches up one of these victims, we hope they